Hi sewists and aspiring sewists, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to make this beautiful baseball jacket. So if this looks like what you're interested in, guys, let's dive into the main video. So for this tutorial right here, I'm going to be making use of these basic materials here. Firstly, I'm going to be making use of this borderless print right there. So what I have here is an A4 size, so when you want to print, you can print in an A4 size. I'm also going to be making use of this black and white band here. I got this for 600 naira, so it depends on where you're shopping from. You can get it for as low as 500 naira. And another thing I'm also going to be needing here is this fabric. We call this ponpon fabric, and this is quite thicker in texture, so I got this for about 1/8 per trouser, and for this tutorial I'm going to make use of just one trouser. Another thing I'm also going to be using is this standard measurement for this tutorial. So I'm making use of a large size measurement for this tutorial. Already after placing my fabric on fold, I'm going to go ahead to measure my jacket length. So for my full length, I'm going to be making use of 29 inches, and I'm going to add 1 inch allowance, which will serve as folding. So I'm going to fold my back like this, and I'm going to go ahead to measure my 30 inches. So what I have here is 30 inches, as you can see. Then I'm also going to proceed to measuring my shoulder. So for my shoulder I have 18 inches here, so I'm going to divide it into 2, and that's going to give me 9 inches. So I'm going to go ahead to mark 9 inches. Now I already left about 1 inch allowance, which will serve as my button allowance, which is what you can see outside here. Also for my folding allowance, I left out 2 inches folding allowance for my button down allowance. I hope this is clear. So now from that point to this point, I'm going to go ahead to measure my 9 inches, which is what you can see me do in this video. So once I'm able to do that, I'm going to go ahead to mark out this point right here. So just because I left a 1 inch allowance here, I'm going to go ahead to mark out my 1 inch roughly on this allowance I have here. So I'm going to do that towards the downside as well, so this can serve as a guideline for me while taking the rest of my measurements. So next thing I'm going to measure now will be my chest line. So for my chest line here, I have 17 inches. 17 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 8.5. So down here I'm going to go ahead to measure my 8.5 inches. Now I'm also going to go ahead to measure my armhole. So now for my armhole here, I have 9 inches, and I'm going to fold the back side of my bodice like this, and I'm going to go ahead to measure my 9 inches point. So now I have my 9 inches, and I'm going to use my chalk to trace out this line. This is my 9 inches here. So now the next thing I'm also going to measure will be my body measurement. So for my body measurement, I have 46 inches here. So divided by 4, that's going to give me 11.5. And since I'm only going to be joining by half of an inch, I'm going to add half inch, so that makes it 12 inches. So I'm going to go ahead to measure my 12 inches point downward. The next thing I will be to measure my neckline. So because it's a jacket, so the neckline is a bit wider than normal, so I'm going to be making use of 3 inches for my neck width. So you can decide to make it lesser than that, maybe 2.5 or 2 inches, depending on how wide you want it to be. And for the neck depth, I'm going to be making use of 4 inches. You can also decide to shorten it to like 3 inches, depending on how deep you want your neck depth to be. So now once you have that already, I'm going to go ahead to make a curve around my neckline. So note that I'm using a free hand, so that is why I'm using my hand. So once I have the shape of what I want, I'm going to go ahead to cut. Now following the same width pattern on my back, I'm also going to come down by 1 inch. So I'm going to go ahead to mark my 1 inch, and I'm also going to make a curve around my neckline. So once I have this, I'm also going to go ahead to cut. So from my armhole line, I'm also going to extend my lines here. I'm going to mark my line here on my back bodice. So once I have this done, I'm going to go ahead to cut out my bodice. So just because I want to form a TM curve on my jacket, I'm going to come up by 3 inches from the downside of my jacket. as you can see in this video, I'm going to come up by 3 inches here, marking out my 3 inches point. Now I'm going to form a curvy shape towards the center point of my jacket. I hope this is clear, just as you can see me illustrate in this video. So once I have that, I'm going to go ahead to cut, and this is also going to follow with my back bodice. Another thing I'm also going to do now will be to know the center point of my button allowance. Moving on, I'm going to proceed to measuring my sleeve. So for my sleeve length, I'm going to be making use of 11 inches. So what I have here is 11 inches, and this includes all my seam allowance. So once I have that, I'm also going to measure my round sleeve. So for my round sleeve here, I'm going to be making use of 18 inches. And 18 inches divided by 2 give me 9 inches. Also, I'm going to come down from my sleeve by 3 inches. And I'm going to go ahead to measure my 9 inches plus 1 inch allowance. That's 10 inches. So now I have my 10 inches marked. So now I'm going to go down to measure my down sleeve, which is 16 inches. Divided by 2 give me 8 inches. So I'm going to add half inch to my 8 inches, and that's going to give me 8.5 inches, what we have here. So I'm going to go ahead to mark my 8.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead to match my lines together. So I'm going to come to the upper part to make a curve to form my sleeve curve. So I'm going to go ahead to also cut this piece. So the next thing I'm going to cut now will be this smaller portion of my band. So I'm going to be cutting this because it's going to serve as my sleeve band. Now for this, there is no expected circumference. I'm only going to be attaching this to the downside of my sleeve. Also for my neckline band, this is what I'm going to be using. So by the time I'm done sewing my jacket, I'll be able to figure out the circumference measurement I'm going to be using for this. So with no further delay, let's get into the main sewing process. So for this, the first thing I'm going to be doing now will be to sew on my button allowance. So I'm going to be doing this for both sides of my front bodice. So once I'm done with that, the next thing I'm also going to be doing now will be to apply my stay on the wrong side of my jacket. So this is going to be coming on the allowance like this. So for my stay, I have about 3 inches measured for that. So after gumming my stay with my heat pressing iron, this is what I have. So I've gone ahead to also fold my allowance back. So this is how it is looking like. So this is the result of what I did. So once I have this done, the next thing I'm going to do will be to attach my shoulders together. So I'm going to do this for this shoulder, and I'm also going to repeat the same process on the other shoulder as well. So once I'm done with that, I'm also going to go ahead to mark out the center point of my armhole. So once I get that, I'm going to go ahead to notch the center point. Following that, I'm also going to repeat the same process on the other armhole as well. Next thing I'm going to do now will be to spread my armhole, and I'm also going to attach the center point of my sleeve towards the center point of my armhole, just as you can see me illustrate in this video. Now you can see that I'm trying to see if it fits into my armhole, and obviously it does fit. So now I'm going to go ahead to sew this round, and I'm also going to repeat the same process on the other armhole as well. So after attaching, this is the result of what we have. So now I'm going to attach the band to this sleeve. So I'm going to be placing my band like this, and I'm going to go ahead to attach it to the sleeve. Now because the band is stretchy, it is going to also stretch on my fabric. So you don't need to stretch it too much, just sew it normally and to keep shrinking the actual sleeve. So after attaching both sleeves band, this is what I have. So I'm also going to go ahead to fold this like this, and I'm also going to go ahead to join the sides of my jacket. So I'm also going to repeat the same procedures on the other side as well. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing now will be to attach my neckline bands to my neckline. So I'm going to fold my band to fit into my neckline circumference. So now I'm going to fold my band like this to see if it's going to fit in. So once I get my preferred measurement, I'm going to go ahead to cut. So the next thing I'm going to do now will be to spread out my band, and I'm also going to fold it like this. So the plain black would be on the wrong side, while the one with white stripe will be the one facing the right side. So now you can see I'm trying to fit it into my neckline to fit into what I want. So now I'm going to also go ahead to make a cuff around my band. I also reduce the band length to fit into what I want. So once I have this, I'm going to know the center point of my neckline, and I'm also going to know the center point of my band. So I'm going to attach this to fit into each other. Then I'm going to go ahead to pin this down. So now I'm also going to go ahead to extend my band to meet my starting point where my button allowance is. So I'm going to leave about 1 inch allowance from there, then fold it like this, then go ahead to weave this. So I'm going to do this to the other end of my neckline. So after attaching my neckband, this is what we have here. After that, I'm going to proceed to weave the downside of my jacket. I'm going to weave it all through. So once I'm done with that, I'm also going to go ahead to sew the downside of my jacket. I'm going to sew it all through. Now I'm also going to go ahead to sew on my on this part of my sleeve band. I'm also going to go ahead to sew a straight line on this part. Also on my button line, I'm also going to sew this part of my button allowance, and once I'm done with that, I'm also going to go ahead to sew on my neckline band. So I'm also going to sew on this part to flatten my band. So after sewing, this is what we have. This is the final look of what I've been able to couple together. So now the next thing I'm also going to be doing now will be to attach my customization to this beautiful piece. So while I go on with my customization, let me just chip this in that the art of streetwear making also comes with the knowledge of customization. So if you're going into streetwear making, you will also need a knowledge of customization, as this would help you go far in your streetwear business. Alright guys, so now I am going to go ahead to arrange this carefully, just as you can see me do in this video. So once I'm able to do that, I'm going to go ahead to paste this with my heat pressing machine. So after pasting, I waited for this to cool off a bit, then I was able to remove the nylon too. So guys, at this point you can see that we have our jacket made already. So the next thing I'm going to be doing now will be to fix my button on this. So I'll be going out to fix that. If you watched till this point, this is me saying thank you for watching my video, and if you're yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Please kindly subscribe, like, share and comment on this particular video. And here is the final outlook of our jacket. Please let me know if you'll be trying this in the comment section, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye.